Hello and welcome to the show. Now, while Dirt Rally 2 is not a perfect game, I have been thoroughly enjoying my time playing it. To be honest with you, I've not actually played all that much of the career mode. I've just kind of fired it up and gone into time trial and played around with various vehicles. It's just been... I don't know, it's one of those games I just enjoy driving on. I enjoy trying to get better. I like to think I've got better as I have played a little bit more. It's starting to get the hang of trying to find speed. I mean, rallying, very different style of driving for me, really. I just enjoy driving around here, enjoy taking the various vehicles and so on and seeing what I can manage with it. And actually, playing time trial I've tested out on all sorts of different stages across all of the rallies, and while there isn't the largest selection of countries, locations and, well, stages to be going down, what is there is very good fun to drive on the most part. So I decided to put together a list of my favourite stages. My favourite stages from each of the rallies. If I was just going to go for favourite stage, I'd probably full of mostly from Argentina, because I like this rally. But I don't know if I'm very good at it. I do like the challenge of driving around here. So I was going to pick my favourite stage from each of the different countries that we currently have, because at the time I'm recording this, Monte Carlo and the other ones haven't come out yet. And we're going to start with USA. Now, the circuit on the stage that I picked is the Hancock Hill Sprint Forward. Now, the American rally is, certainly in my opinion, it certainly seems like almost a tutorial rally might be a little bit... At the end of the day, driving quickly with anything, anywhere is tough. However, of all of the different rallies that you can go to in Dirt Rally, the American stages are the most forgiving. Now, that's not to say you cannot have a massive accident, because believe me, you can. You can have a very, very big accident. But on the most part, I find that the American stages are a little bit more on the forgiving side. There is a little bit more, you know, runoff. If you jump across the inside of some of the corners anyway, you can get away with it in places. Of the stages that I've driven of the American rally, this one here is my personal favourite. It's kind of got a few almost sort of distinctive characteristics. A lot of the stages, the Australian rally suffers from a similar thing, kind of a little bit nondescript almost. You're just going down what feel fairly similar. This particular stage, I do like. It starts off with quite a nice fast section, and then we get to some fiddly technical bits, a place to get lost, and it's just, yeah, the most enjoyable of the American stages. Now, I will say most of the stages, most of the routes you're going to see here are fairly short stages. Truth be told, that's just because I tend to enjoy racing on the shorter rally stages. A lot of the stages here also, like the longer stages, are made up of two shorter stages pretty much, or in a lot of cases anyway. Also, this corner here, the first time you drive it, you will take the first left-hander rather than the one you're supposed to go to, because the co-driver calls like one left and you see what looks like a road to dive down, and you will end up taking it unless you're watching this video before driving the stage, and then maybe you won't. But I think everybody has taken the turning this one too soon for whatever reason. So on that part, yeah, it's just an easy mistake to make. You've got this kind of fiddly section. This is probably one of the more fiddly sections you'll come to in some of the Mega stages. So yeah, overall, this is the most fun. It's probably, I say, the most straightforward. You've got the most margin for error. There aren't too many rocks and hidden ditches along the side of the road that if you put a wheel a millimetre wide is going to immediately crash the car. You'll get away with a tiny little bit more. If you miss the braking, you've got kind of quite nice places in these hairpins as well to get away with if you're a little late and so on. It's a fun stage. As I said, probably less of, for me personally, my favourite of the American stages. But yeah, there we go. There's also a fun. Actually, stop the video before the end. There's a fun, like a final corner you dive off a turn. To Australia next, the Rockton Plains stage. Now, I have traditionally liked Australia. I've played many rally games, and Australia has featured in just about all of them. Just about all of them, and it's generally a go-to rally that I like and a go-to rally that I'm fairly good at. I don't know why in particular, because many different games across many different eras and consoles, etc. I don't know, I just seem to generally be quite good when it comes to Australia. For some reason, a lot of the Australian stages in Dirt Rally 2 I just didn't really enjoy. I don't know why. It's not one of the bad stages per se, but I didn't really find myself enjoying many of them. This particular one is certainly my personal favourite, and as I said, plenty. This is a good fun stage to go driving down. Now I picked this one for a couple of different reasons. First of all, we've got lots of surfaces to worry about, so you've got a lot of things to think about. You've got tarmac. There are a few stages that have, you know, little bits of tarmac in them, and mostly gravel and so on. This one's probably got of the, you know, shorter, not 8-mile stages. This one here's probably got the most kind of tarmac and gravel combination. You've got some narrow bridges to be worrying about. It's just something extra to have to try and think about while you're throwing your very, very quick rally car around the place. You've got to suddenly get, you know, you get your head around the speed you can take on dirt. You're then on tarmac, you're a lot faster. And then you've got to remember when you leave the tarmac that you can then not go quite as fast. Even though there is, of course, a lot of grip on the tarmac, it is still easy to make very, very silly mistakes in those sections as we fly back onto the gravel. There are a couple of different types of gravel surface on this one. I can't say I've ever really noticed the bloody difference, I'll be honest. Never really noticed much of a difference going through them, so I don't know what bit's the heavy gravel or medium gravel, whichever way around it goes. But yeah, as a stage to run down, it's got all of your various bits and pieces you might want. Not massively. It's got a massive amount of hairpins, not massive, very, very tight corners to have to deal with around here. You've got a couple of jumps, you've got a few bumps. It's not the roughest of stages that you will go down. It's also perhaps, again, well, I think the issue I have with the Australian stages is I can't really ever get into sort of a flow, into a rhythm with them. I don't know what it is about them. They just don't seem to quite have that same flow you get from some other stages. There is also, you will notice around the place, these little white posts that stick out. I'm not sure what they are, some sort of road markers and so on. And if you're going fast enough, if you happen to run a smidge wide, you hit them and it removes them no problem. If you're going a little bit slower, sometimes you hit them and your car just stops and you can get stuck on them. They're a little bit of a pain. Maybe that's just me, but I found them to be a little bit of a pain. You do get them in New Zealand as well, but I've seemed to have had more trouble with them in Australia than I have anywhere else for whatever reason. Yeah, this is a fun stage. But overall, Australian Rally, not quite for me. To New Zealand next, the Awanga Sprint Forward. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not, let's be honest, this is me. Do much prefer the forward route. All of the stages have got a forward and reverse route, if you like. This is a fantastic stage. Actually, I really like a lot of the New Zealand Rally stages. We could fill up a lot of list with these ones, because there's something. Much as with the Australian ones, they don't seem to flow together. With these Kiwi ones, they do. It just seems to work. It's just a fun thing to chuck a car around. Now, these aren't fast. There are bits of some other stages that can be quite fast. This particular one, you are never really going particularly fast. Honestly, maybe 60 or 70 miles an hour. Admittedly, for this particular footage, I was driving the 911 rally car, so rear-wheel drive rally GT vehicle is not the easiest of vehicles to drive full stop, but it was good fun. It's good fun to kind of weave your way around here. There's always something to do on this stage. Now, it's not bumpy, it's not vicious, like you have in Argentina. It's, you know, you get away without, as you get away with the Rally GT cars, you don't have to constantly fight this vehicle in terms of bouncing around. Sure, you'll fight it in terms of traction, you're on gravel the whole way, of course. But yeah, it's not quite as vicious on the old suspension front. And there's something rewarding, more so around this stage and quite a few of the other New Zealand stages, about managing to thread the car through these sections that I don't quite get with the Australian or with the American stages. I think it is because you're doing this merry little dance, a little bit less so with the rear-wheel drive rally car because it's going to be sliding anyway, but you're doing this merry dance across the controller from gears, handbrake, trying to get it slowed down, and so on. You're changing your hand position on the controller almost constantly as you're tapping away at the buttons, trying to get the handbrake. You're faffing around a couple of gears down, then you're going up gears, you're grabbing the handbrake again because it's got a little bit wrong. There's just this brilliant dance, and when it clicks, it is unbelievable. And this stage is perfect for that because it is constant sort of medium and slow speed corners. You're constantly changing direction. There's never really a breather around here, and that's why I kind of like these, these short, these compressed stages that are just a brutal workout of your concentration, as you are constantly working. You're constantly having to work with the car. We get up to a little bit more speed over here, like almost 80 miles an hour. I think we dared to get towards before slowing it down towards the next corner. Yeah, this is a fantastic stage to run around. All the stages are very, very pretty. You're kind of running through the edge of the forest, edge of the jungles around here. Yeah, brilliant stage. I do prefer going in this direction as well. It seems to me it feels like it flows a little bit better when you get towards the latter stages. So, Spain up next. The Viñedos Dardenyà. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to give up. This is the reverse version of this circuit, and I would specifically say I would prefer the reverse version of this particular layout. And as you can see from the track map, it starts off utterly bonkers. Now, tarmac in general in Dirt Rally is a little bit interesting. The tarmac handling physics are, that's a little strange. They take a bit of getting used to, certainly. There is, of course, a huge amount of grip that you're not really used to, and this stage starts off as perhaps one of the most technical stages I've ever driven. You are constantly cornering, and when I say constantly cornering, you're constantly taking 1 and 2 corners, hairpin corners, and there is barely this tiny acceleration zone straight back into this technical section here. You get another little bit of a breather, and then we're back into like, these kind of slightly faster corners, and then you go back towards the hairpins, towards the very nasty, tight corners. It's a breathless start almost to a stage here, and it is brutal. It's very easy to make a silly little mistake and clip a wall because you've braked a little too early and you turned in too soon, or you're trying to be a little bit too brave and trying to carry that little bit too much speed. There's kind of a lovely undulation to the road as you weave the vehicle around here. It's easy to lose the back end if you're not careful on the brakes as well. I've done that a few times while practicing this stage. Locking the rears, go sliding sideways into a corner, and then once you get out of the very technical section, then things get even scarier because you go from what is a brutally tight and twisty stage to what then opens up to be a very, very fast tarmac stage. You kind of have this is your gradual, this is your middle period. This is the, we're starting to get a little bit faster. It's not constant hairpins, and then you head around this, it's a 2 left I think it is, onto the next part of road, and then everything is near flat out. For the rest of the stage, I don't think you go, I don't think there's a tighter corner than about 4 down here. So you've got, your mind has just got used to weaving whatever car it might be you're driving. In this case, I'm driving the Group A Evo. Your mind just gets used to you dealing with that constant cornering hairpins and so on. And then you get unleashed onto this near flat out section. It isn't flat out. Again, believe me, you'll have a really big crash. Those of you that follow me on Twitter saw I had a very big crash here at one point. I got a wheel stuck on the grass and it got carried away wide. Actually got a little bit wonky over the crest there, carried out towards the Arco barrier. Was very lucky to get away with that. It's just like the juxtaposition between the first and second half of this stage, and I much prefer it doing it this way, having the technical bit to start with and having everything open up later on. You've just kind of condensed a tarmac rally experience into one stage, and it's brilliant. It is absolutely fantastic, but you've got to keep your wits about you when you get towards the later stages. Not everything is flat out. You've got to be a little bit mindful for some of these corners, but yeah, fantastic stage. Up next we go to Poland, the Jezioro Lukie. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing stuff, but there we go. On the track map it actually looks quite simple. On the track map it possibly looks like one of the more simple stages that that I'm going to talk about here. Now the Polish rally is pretty vicious. Now, we don't get Finland in Dirt Rally 2, and I think it's unlikely that we would see it later on down the line. It wasn't in the original Dirt Rally, no, it wasn't in the original. It wasn't in Dirt 4, I think, for licensing issues, and I presume it'll probably be the same with this. But yeah, we're unlikely to see Finland. And of course, Finland is very well known for being very, very fast, full of jumps. And while we don't have that to play around with here, we do have Poland, which is very fast and quite full of jumps. It's maybe not quite as vicious as some of the full-on Finnish rally stages, but some of these routes, this one in particular, you've got a lot of airtime. I mean, you see the first section, and I like having those jumps. Again, this is why I'm using this direction layout. There'll be another version of this that heads the other direction, has those jumps at the end. I kind of rather would have those. I don't know, it just kind of works for me. Rather have those jumps at the start. You've got a little bit of tarmac here, and you have got to deal with the nasty chicanes, which I get slightly wrong on this pass through. Just couldn't quite slow it down. I really struggle when I'm racing. This is a mostly dirt stage, though we're on the tarmac, and trying to figure out what I can and can't get away with in the braking department is somewhat interesting. I don't know what it is, but I really struggle to get the cars slowed down. And admittedly, the Group B cars are not exactly the easiest to get slowed down. So yeah, you've got a pretty vicious first section, some very, very big jumps. Unlike New Zealand, out here it's pretty bumpy. It's pretty nasty. There is a little bit more margin for error in a couple of places. Here, for example, I get a bit creative with the track limits. You can get away with jumping across some of these bits, but I should say it is only some. There are some quite nasty hidden banks around if you hit them too hard on the inside. certainly in places it can get quite narrow. You're going to have to be careful. Of course, at the end of the day, you're rallying, in this case, a bit of Group B car going quite quickly. But yeah, you are in this stage in particular, you're constantly flying around. Up here is one of my favourite sections. You are flying across these bumps while you're trying to take a corner. This one here in the air, trying to get the car turned, then get it settled, get on the brakes. I do like that section. You can have a really big crash there if you get it wrong. Very good fun section to drive through. There are a couple other fun Polish stages, one that kind of heads around like a little town area, got some fun chicanes to have to deal with around there. But in particular, this one ticks all the boxes for me. We will finally move on to Argentina. As I said at the start, I love the Argentinian rally on this game because it is brutal. It is one of the most ridiculous, it's probably one of the toughest rallying experiences I have had in a game, full stop. Particular highlight for me, of course, is the Rodeo stage. Now, we saw this one a little while ago. I did an investigation with Group B rally cars around here because this is nasty. This is such a tough rally stage. Now, for this one here, I'm running through in a Lancia Stratos. I thought I'd challenge myself and go with a rear-wheel drive car, a very light rear-wheel drive car. Now, we were talking about Poland is quite bumpy. It is nothing compared to Argentina. Not only is this road, these routes, almost constantly bumping you around, as you can see here, you are most of the time being fed between two rock faces. And that's it. You've got about a car width and a bit to play with, no more. Through the majority, that particular bit of grass there, you can get away with kind of extending a corner to get a better run through, but most of the time, you step off that gravel path and you're going to have a very, very big accident. You can't get away with dipping a wheel over the edge because there's rocks. They'll roll your car in some places here. You run a little bit wide. Not only that, of course, it's incredibly technical. You know, they're all first, second gear corners. They're all hairpins around the place. Now, there are some smoother, there are some nicer Argentina stages, but this one in particular, it's just for the sheer challenge. No other stages, certainly in general, none of the other rallies have got quite the same sense of relief that you've just survived. Regardless of the speed, if you survive to the end of an Argentinian stage, it is an accomplishment. And this one, to me, this is probably one of the toughest stages that it took for me. I say to master, toughest stages for me to kind of learn and get the hang of, because it is, you are constantly bouncing. I don't think there's a point in this circuit that the track is even vaguely close to being smooth. You know, the Australian rally, the American rally stages, yeah, they're all on dirt, on gravel and so on. But at least for most of the time, they are fairly smooth. You come out here and the only vague bits of straights you get, the car is bouncing and bucking around. Through here, for example, that's as close to flat as you get on this stage, and just about on this rally as well. It's just a completely different challenge. As I said, it's just getting to the end of the stage almost is an accomplishment, and I love that about it. Much as about the New Zealand rally, this is all about, you know, you are constantly dancing across the controller, trying to find where you want to be, what gear you want to be in, getting the brakes right, again, typically I've done both of these with rear-wheel drive cars. Less handbrake needed with these, but with some of the cars it will be just you're tapping everything almost constantly around the stage. There is no moment to pause because, well, one tiny slip-up and you have a huge... I got away twice here, which is quite rare. I ever so slightly brushed the wall with the back of the car through a hairpin, and on the front left coming towards that fast chicane. I have rolled running wide out of there on that outside rock. It's a brutal stage. It's perhaps one of the most challenging stages for what is less than 2 miles long. Quite the savage location. I love it though. It's a brilliant fun challenge to just drive a car through that stage. I very highly recommend it. I mean, as I said, I love most of the Argentinian rally stages, but that one in particular is a real standout. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you, if you haven't tried these stages before, go and give them a go. As I said, maybe you won't agree with me. Maybe you won't like the brutality almost of the Argentinian rally. I can certainly understand that one because that is seriously tough. I mean, you can't go wrong with the New Zealand rally stages in particular because it's a lovely flowing sort of chain all the corners together. It's all very elegant and all nicely controlled, whereas Argentina is a panic and flail and hope for the best. And if you get it right, it's bloody fast. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying this game. I'm enjoying this game immensely, just sort of time trialing around the place. Yeah, as I said, have a go with these stages if you might not have done in the past, and let me know what your preferred rally stages are. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.